Hello everyone and welcome back to a new season of rallying here in Barbados, brought to you by Red265 Motorsport. We're here for the first round of the 2021 season and we're starting things off at the well-known Bushy Park racing circuit. Sadly, no spectators were allowed this time out, but we're here to bring you all the action on this double-header event. Even with these challenging times, the Barbados Rally Club have been able to muster up a 30 competitor entry list. The day would start off with a brief last chance scrutineering session, and then straight into an 8 AM testing session, which was much appreciated by a number of the drivers who hadn't even turned a wheel since the end of the 2020 season, able to brush off a few of those cobwebs from the Christmas period. As we waited for the first event to start, we bumped into Formula 3 Euro Championship driver Zane Maloney, who had just returned from the recent Paul Ricard Grand Prix. Of course, we had to ask him what sparked his interest for this event.
To be honest, I can't even remember. I think I was finished Monaco and I had a week in between Monaco and Paul Ricard, and my uncle called me and said, "You want to drive the Skoda next weekend?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So it was not really too much of a plan. It was kind of, Dane, there's a car here that you have the opportunity to drive, and of course I took that with two hands and come out here and have some fun today. Of course my goal and my aim and what I'm working towards is the F3 Championship, but coming out here and rallying a few in the Skoda is always fun.
So with some slight tweaks here and there following the drivers' meeting, competitors were ready to take on the first direction of the doubleheader. So to kick things off and rounding out the top 10 was Stan Hartley driving his R5 Fiesta. For what was his first competitive event in the car, he appeared to be very comfortable behind the wheel. Ninth overall and huge supporter to Red265 and all things rallying in Barbados was Paul Horton. Having had some stage mileage from the 2020 season, Paul put up an experienced drive to better his countryman Stan Hartley. Island favourite Roger Hill would muster up an 8th overall finish in the competitive R5 class. Hill would improve run after run, finishing the first direction 3 seconds faster than his first, but not quite enough to see himself finish higher up the order. Next up was Adam Mallalieu in his Fiesta R5, who would be sharing with his son for the day. Andrew would complete the first direction 7th and 5th in the competitive R5 group, not to mention just 1 place behind his son. Speaking of which, here he is. This was Adam Mallalieu's first rally event and first time driving his dad's R5 Fiesta. Adam looked comfortable all day, showing a perfect transfer of skill from his karting days. Circuit racing veteran who has been missing from the rally scene for some years is Mark Maloney, who kept the R5 group honest throughout the day. Mark would have a fastest time less than a second off of champion driver Jeffrey Panton. 4th overall and 2nd in group are results seldomly seen associated with Jamaican driver Jeffrey Panton. Arguably it appeared as if the day favoured the agility of the R5 variants over the WRC horsepower. Third overall, but first in the WRC group was Dane Skeete. Nonetheless, the result indeed showed that the WRC variant would be a formidable challenger in capable hands. Driving in his new Skoda R5 Evo 2 Fabia was Stuart Maloney, who had been pushed out of the overall honours by just 0.05 of a second to his nephew Zane. And so, First overall and first in R5 was Zane Maloney, who won by a narrow margin of 0.05 of a second, which was acknowledged by all given his limited seat time in the Skoda. Time now to look at the full listing of group positions, as the competition had been fierce outside of the top 10 as well. So taking a look at the group honours outside of the top 10, starting in Super Modified 2, Andrew Jones will secure a third in group, but not hold off Barry Myers, who took second in class, notwithstanding a rather hair-raising moment on his third run. Fastest two-wheel drive overall and first in Super Modified 2 was Josh Reed in his Toyota Starlet. Josh had made it no secret that he favours the smooth tarmac surface, which certainly did seem to suit the car. th overall and first in Super Modified 1 was Neil Corbin in his trusty Toyota Starlet. Notwithstanding a limited group competition, the 2020 Drivers' Champion would outperform other higher group competitors throughout the morning direction. Right behind Super Modified 1 was Tremaine Ford Catwell, flamboyantly showing off his Daihatsu Charmant. Meanwhile, unchallenged in Modified 1 was Jamal Brathwaite, who would finish 15th overall behind his club rival Neil. Also unchallenged, this time in the Clubman 3 class, was Stuart Garcia in his newly acquired BMW Cup car. Coming first in the hugely competitive BMW Cup class was Chris Hode, who would take the class honours by less than a second from his closest rival. That rival being Derek Edwards, who has taken a slight step back from his usual, more powerful BMW Compact. Rounding off the podium in the very competitive BMW Cup group was Harold Morley with a very measured drive. Taking full advantage of an opportunity to get back in the saddle was Club Public Relations Officer Neil Bernard. Hot at Neil's heels though was Jason Toll for second overall in Clubman 1. Rounding off the group honours for Modified 1 was Ross Callender, who put in a flamboyant piece of driving throughout the morning direction. Right behind him though was the club chairman Jeffrey Knoll, who would suffer mechanical issues on the final run, unfortunately pushing him slightly further down the order. So with the first run complete, let's take a look at the times and see how everything ended up. As everyone was waiting for the second direction to begin, we caught up with Barbados Motoring Federation President Adam Mallalieu to get a sense of the undertaking involved in restarting motorsport on an island such as this during the COVID-19 pandemic.
First of all, 2020, I mean, obviously what the country faced and what the world faced was unprecedented. We didn't know, so we were learning as we went. With the FIA's help and all the clubs pulling together, we did have that very robust document for reopening motorsport. And of course, it turned out we ran a very safe year last year. Both COVID safe and otherwise safe, so that was great, and we did learn some things, and we modified the document and we resubmitted to the ministry again this year, and the Ministry of Health and the COVID monitoring unit and everyone has been extremely helpful in getting motorsport back open. So today is testament to that. We're back open in a safe environment, spectatorless for now. So yes, we learned a few things, we modified a few things, but it has been a great cooperative effort. You know, in times of adversity, when the clubs have all come together under the federation, has been very much warming my heart, to be quite honest.
By early afternoon, competitors were ready to proceed to the start of the second direction. And starting things off was Josh Reed with an impressive top 10 overall and fastest two-wheel drive finish. Ninth overall in the afternoon session was BMF President Adam Mallalieu. He had been able to better his performance from the morning direction, but had surely gained much needed seat time, which was the important thing. Meanwhile, it looks like the trip over to Barbados proved to be a success for Paul Horton, as he would make it into the top 10 in both directions. Taking a small step back from his morning performance, Mark Maloney would come in to finish 7th in the afternoon. Cool, calm and collected would be the recipe for a competitive performance for Roger Hill, who would complete the second direction 6th overall. Impressing everyone as much as his father was Adam Mallalieu, who finished his first event in the R5 5th overall and 3rd in group. After being bested by his nephew earlier in the day, Stuart Maloney would come back to finish a 4th overall. Riding on board now with Geoffrey Panton for the second direction, we can clearly see the champion driver putting in the work to secure a podium finish in what would have been one of the most challenging events he's had for some time. Edging out Panton by less than a second would be Dane Skeete in his Impreza WRC. Dane would be considerably off the pace of the overall winner, however his times would be good enough for a WRC class win and 2nd overall. So after leading the way for the majority of the day, Zane Maloney would secure a commanding 1st overall finish by nearly 2 seconds, this time using Stuart Maloney's newly acquired Skoda R5. Now let's have a look at the class winners and group battles outside of the top 10 for the afternoon session. First up is Barry Myers in his rear-wheel drive Ford Fiesta. Barry put on a strong performance which would keep him ahead of his closest rival Andrew Jones. But just when someone doubted the driving capabilities of Andrew Jones, he not only put on an entertaining drive, but one which provided some many competitive times. Next up was Neil Corbin, who secured a consistent 14th overall and 1st in the Super Modified 1 group. Did someone say Ragged Edge? Well, this was the order of the day for Tremaine Ford Catwell. We certainly look forward to seeing more of him later on in the year. Unchallenged in the Modified 2 group, but certainly putting in the work for a respectable 15th overall finish, was Jamal Brathwaite. Clearly showing that his recent acquisition was worth it, Stuart Garcia would complete the day 1st in Clubman 3 and 18th overall. With a more subdued drive in this direction, Ross Callender put in a much better overall position, which would see him 19th overall. Illustrating that the morning session was not a fluke, Chris Hode would end the second direction 2 seconds faster than the closest BMW Cup driver. Let's not be surprised if we see Neil Bernard competing in the near future, as he seemed right at home in his Swift Cup load throughout the day. His second direction would also see him first in Clubman 1. So that is it for today's action. Let's have a closer look at the overall times for the day. Well, that sadly is all we have for you this time. Thank you for watching the first round of the Barbados Rally season, brought to you by Red265 Motorsport. Make sure to like the video, subscribe so you can see more rallying action in the future. I have been, and will continue to be, Chris Reardon, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon.